Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Homefront, episode 63. Tonight we are going to talk about what makes a good neighbor. I know everybody wants to know how to be a good neighbor. First, little housekeeping. Be sure to let me know you're on. Be sure to let me know you've joined. Say something. Say hi. I like to tell everybody hi when you guys get on. 1. 2, make sure you hit the like button, love button, share this out. You don't want to be selfish with the information. What's going on, Rick? Thank you for joining this evening. 2, or actually this is 3, I'm going to be on the Shane DeGarry show at 10 o'clock Eastern time, so be sure that you guys join for that one. I'm super excited to be interviewed by him. Thank you, Rick. And 4, I want to tell you guys about the young man that we are trying to raise money for. His name is Michael Oliver. He is a close friend of the family. 17 years old. He has a very rare form of cancer. And we are trying to raise money for his treatment using CBD oil and also organic foods. We have raised enough to get him started for the first 2 months of treatment. He should be receiving his first dosage or treatment here in the next couple of days. From my understanding, the shipment just went out, and I'm going to be going in the next couple of days to get some organic and natural foods for them. So if you have it in your heart to donate, please do so. The link is on my page. Also, if you could share it out, we would greatly appreciate anything. Just sharing it out, sharing his story out is very helpful. So his name is Michael Oliver. Again, the link is on my page. Hey, John, what's going on? Hey, Bill, thanks for joining. Tonight we're going to talk about what makes a good neighbor. So I've got through all those little tips and things before we get started. So like always, I always have a blog or an article to read just to help remind me of some of the things that I may forget, because I'm not all knowing in everything in life. It says changing times. Neighborhoods have been changing over the years. In the past, people brought baskets of sandwiches. I've never been in a neighborhood where they brought me a basket of sandwiches. What's going on, Avi? I mean, if you guys ever received a basket of sandwiches when you moved in, or cookies or cakes, please say something. I'd like to know when the last time that happened. I know that they also used to have block parties. I've never been in a neighborhood that has a block party. It says even today, all neighborhoods have their own personalities. Some tend to be more open to street parties and socializing. I don't really think mine is. Hey, John, what's going on? I don't think my neighborhood is really open to street parties and socializing. I think they try. We have a neighborhood Facebook page. Avi said in Philadelphia, there are a lot. You guys get cookies and baskets a lot? That's in Philadelphia? I'd love to know what part of Philadelphia that is, because apparently we're missing out here. I've heard, I think my mom's neighborhood does some socializing. They've had block parties. They've had neighborhood yard sales. I know those are pretty common. I think it would be fun to have a neighborhood block party, actually. I mean, our neighborhood is only one street, but I think it would be fun to have one. Hey, what's going on, Yancy? Thanks for joining. But they said that while others are made up of people who prefer to stay to themselves, I'm one of them, the second group isn't bad, it's just not as warm and inviting. I mean, it's not bad to socialize in your neighborhood. It's definitely a good thing, because if something is going on, then somebody will notify you. Like I said, we have a neighborhood Facebook page, and everybody knows the dog that I have, because apparently there was a dog running around in the neighborhood, and somebody tagged me in a post and said, my neighbor has one. Is this you? Is your dog loose? It wasn't my dog, thank goodness, but it's nice to know your neighbors. They do share things of what's going on, things to look out for. I know we had one night where there was a loud noise in the neighborhood, and somebody quickly posted, did anybody else hear that? So it's good to know what's going on. Rick said we have many block parties in St. Louis. Well, apparently I'm in the wrong part of the country, because I would love to have a block party. Maybe I do need to start one. It says noise. This is on how to be a good neighbor. No one expects you to be quiet as a mouse, but you should also respect certain basic rules when it comes to making too much noise. I totally agree. If you're going to have a party and you know you're going to interfere with your neighbor's parking, let them know. You can put out a flyer. You can go knock on the door and tell them. You can take them some cookies and tell them, hey, I'm going to have a party. I hope this doesn't bother you. We may be taking up a lot of parking. I just think that's a nice thing to do. That's a good way to butter up your neighbor and let them know, please don't get mad at me. Please don't call the police. I think another important thing is if you have dogs, which I do, keeping them from barking incessantly. If my dogs bark, my dogs will whine at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I bring them in. I don't want them to annoy the neighbors just because that's what they do. I mean, I've heard people who call the police on their neighbors when they have loud barking dogs. Now that's happened when they endlessly whine and bark. And it gets ridiculous. So it's just being considerate and courteous. You don't want to have a lot of noise. It says don't honk your horn every time you pull into the driveway. That would be pretty obnoxious. I actually think that'd be funny. Mowing the lawn at 7 a.m. on Saturday, I can say I'm guilty of that because I like to get out before it gets hot. So I guess maybe I should be a little more courteous and make it at least wait until 8 o'clock. It says there's no reason to hammer a nail on a common wall. Well, that would be if you have a townhouse or something. There's no danger of that in this neighborhood. We're in single-family houses, so you're not going to hear us hammering here for sure. And avoid all unnecessary noise from any source from 9 p.m. That's like actually the rule. I think counties have rules on times that you can have loud noises outside without calling the police. Not much, just joining. Okay. Well, we're talking about how to be a good neighbor. It says, being a good neighbor, you follow the golden rules to good neighbors. And I don't think everybody knows the golden rules. But it says, tips on being a good neighbor. Observe and respect your neighbor's personal space. Very true. I'm not one, every time I see you, I have to run up, say hi, and follow up, check in what's going on. I like to say hi, wave, that's good, but not too much of getting into people's business. I kind of keep to myself. Like I said, if there's something that I see that's a problem, I will go out of my way to let them know or to make sure, like if someone left their garage up and I know they're not home, I'm going to go out of my way to try and make sure that it's put down or they know about it. Hey, Douglas, what's going on? Hey, Valentine, how are you doing this evening? It says, don't be the neighborhood gossip. That is for sure one of the golden rules. I mean, just because you see something going on doesn't mean you need to let everybody know. You know, oh, good, no more stories. No, this. You don't have any neighborhood stories or any good neighbor stories, Valentine? You know, there could be times when your neighbor has a bonfire in the backyard, but you don't need to go tell everybody about it. And you sure don't need to tell them about who all your, the company that they have coming over the house. But there are some people that like to do that. They like to participate in neighborhood gossip and assuming and guessing as to, I guess it's kind of like people watching, but I just personally don't partake in that. I don't think it's very nice. Yes, that does happen. It says, if you have an issue with a neighbor, go directly to the person and discuss it in an adult manner. Don't call the cops. That's what I say. You got to live next door to these people at least for a certain period of time. Don't call the police. You could even put a note on their door anonymously. What if I own a neighborhood and I need to know? You own the neighborhood? That's an entirely different situation. Barbecue and send plates to the neighbor for dinner and kiddos. That's a nice thing. You could send plates or you can invite them over. People are nosy. We used to live in a townhouse neighborhood where if you were parked in the wrong spot for like 10 minutes, they would march over with the neighborhood rules and let everybody know this is not the right place to be parking. So, it's more than just being considerate. It's also being like a little bit flexible with your rules and just trying to be nice. I mean, you could go talk to people again. If you're going to have lots of people over and you need extra parking, let people know. Or being aware of where you're parking your vehicle is important, because if you're constantly parking at the end of somebody's driveway, that could be obnoxious for them backing out. And your goal is to be nice. If you see a neighbor that needs a little assistance, ask them if they need help. I mean, this isn't my neighbor, but I was driving down the road the other day and this lady stopped on the side of the road. She was out in the middle of the street. I slowed down and I asked her, I said, are you okay? She's like, yeah, just trying to get a turtle out of the middle of the road. I think that's just being human. Just being human, considerate, looking at everybody from a place of everybody's a good person, just trying to be helpful. It says, if you you and a neighbor have a misunderstanding, make an extra effort to make things right by shaking hands. I don't think that always works, but you can try. Some people are pretty stubborn. I know of people who've had neighborhood issues where there's dead trees, like really, really tall trees, and due to a storm, that dead tree falls onto the neighbor's yard, breaks the fence, and lands, we're talking about big old trees. And then the neighbor refuses to fix it. Like, your tree just fell in my yard, broke my fence, and now I have to go to court to get you to own it. I don't understand why people just don't own their responsibility. I just heard a story yesterday from a friend who told me that something happened, a storm happened, and it broke something for her neighbor, and the homeowner's insurance deemed it a natural disaster. It was no fault of theirs, so they weren't going to pay it. Well, she still came out of her pocket with the money, and it was never fixed. So she paid the neighbor almost $1,000 to fix something, and they never fixed it. But she paid for peace of mind. And sometimes you have to think about it like that. It's a peace of mind versus living next to someone that you hate pretty closely, too. I mean, you're talking about your neighbors. Mayette, I hope I'm saying your name right. Mayette says, I like your philosophy, trying to be a better. Yeah, always try to be the better person. There's just no reason to fight with someone over stupid, petty misunderstandings. Being considerate, being human, and just trying to get along with people. I like this one, though. Curb appeal. Basic exterior maintenance. Mow the lawn. Don't let it get knee-high before doing something about it. I'm pretty guilty of that. I hate yard work. But I try to mow it. My philosophy is every 2 weeks. Sometimes, because of the rain, it gets a little bit high. But I do. And, if you have a tree that's growing from the bottom versus, leaves on the top, you might want to cut that out or fix it. That would be good curb appeal. Hey, Barbara, what's going on? Hey, DJ, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. It says, make sure your trees, shrubs, and other elements don't creep into your neighbor's yard. That is so true. Make sure your dog doesn't poop in your neighbor's yard. And if you do, please pick it up. I mean, these are just, to me, they're basic common sense things. I would say just trying to keep your yard clean because you don't want to bring down the value of the neighborhood. That's important. I know you, Barbara, had a good neighbor experience about the trash. That one was a classic. I guess somebody's neighbor doesn't want to pay for trash, so they just don't. I think they just let it sit there. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Removing bicycles, skateboards, and toys from the front of the yard. I agree with that, but number one, you don't want to get your stuff stolen, and number two, it's just considerate yet again. She said I did. Yeah, that's a pretty funny story. Hey, Tracy, thank you for joining. Social events, and I mentioned this before, you might be a party animal, and that's fine as long as you don't intrude or impose on your neighbors. An occasional late night blast might be forgiven. Here's a way to get your neighbors to buy in. If you want to have endless parties, invite them over. Just invite them over, and if you want to be loud, they're there. There's nobody to complain. That's the key. Or like John said, send them food. Everybody likes food. I know I do. So that's a way to get your neighbors buy-in, and you don't have to worry about noise ordinance. Welcome new neighbors, and I've been really bad about this. Again, introduce yourself as soon as you can. Deliver meals and treats. This to me is so like 1970s. Hand deliver a bouquet of fresh cut flowers. Who has time to do that? Offer to have the new neighbor's children over while moving van is unloading furniture. That's helpful. That way your kids can start to get to know each other. And I like this one. Give the new family a list of services and phone numbers in the area, including emergency services, doctors' offices, dentists, and schools. Having a block party once a year, that's a good idea. I've mentioned that before. Rick says, my motto is your front yard is your doormat to your house. Okay. That's interesting. But yeah, I think those are some really good tips to being a good neighbor. Let me see if I can find anything else. Introduce yourself. I think that's good. We talked about that. Consider your neighbor's lifestyle. Get to know your neighbors and what they do for a living, what their schedules might be, and so on. I think that's a little bit personal. It's nice to have conversation and kind of get to know them a little bit, but I don't think you need to delve into their lifestyle. Like asking them, are you a partier? Are you single? Are you married? You don't need to know all that. Sometimes that's too much information. Sometimes you can remedy problems before they even start. If they work nights, quiet mornings will be important. That's true. I guess that might be a good reason. I give firewood to everybody. Well, that's neighborly, Valentine. Giving firewood. I think just going around once a year, knocking on the door, and just saying, hey, what's going on? I live down the street. Just wanted to see how you're doing. Be aware of shared walls. Again, that's only a problem in condos and townhomes. And this one is important, and I mentioned it briefly. I kind of just went over it, but control your dog. Keep your dog on a leash. If you don't, I mean, there are times that my lunatic dogs have gotten out, and I had to chase his butt down just the other day. But if he poops in the yard, go pick it up. And what's really annoying to me is when someone sees you in distress and they just stand there. They don't help you. If I see a child chasing down a dog in the neighborhood, I'm going to help. But, some people don't. They just stand there and look at you, and I don't know what's going on in their mind. But why don't you help people that are in distress? I don't understand that. People don't want to help you when your dog gets out. And the key thing that I've learned, if you just squat down and call the dog over like this, they come running to you like you've got some sort of treat. But people don't want to help. And I think it's horrible because, you could have a big catastrophe. The dog could run out in the middle of the busy road and get hit, and you didn't help. You just stood there like a deer in headlights, probably recording it on your phone. It says, this one says, if it is a habit of running rampant on your neighbor's lawns, especially if they have a cat or dog of their own, make sure you clean up after it. Common sense to me. If you have a particularly noisy dog, this may become a source of contention. Very true. Like I said, I've known people that have called the cops on their neighbors for dogs. Put yourself in their shoes and imagine how upset you'd be. It's considerate. Practice parking etiquette. I think this is key. This should be something you get on the bylaws. Parking etiquette. Here are the rules. They maybe not official HOA rules, but etiquette. What's good etiquette? When you park your vehicle, don't block anyone's access or make them have to pull out of a very tight spot. It's just like New York where they park bumper to bumper. Why would you do that in a neighborhood when you don't have to do it? Park in front of your home, not your neighbor's. And avoid slamming doors or shining your headlights into neighbor's windows. Who does that? I guess if you're in a closer community where your parking is assigned, then maybe it would be accidental. Alert your neighbors to parties. I've mentioned that. That just gets their buy-in. Invite them over, or send them a plate, send them something. But that way they don't get mad that they didn't get invited and get salty and then try to ruin your fun. Keep your yard tidy. Weed your garden regularly. Yeah. Control your bonfire, barbecue, or backyard fire. If you have a fire that's out of control, that's a whole nother issue, in my opinion. It says position it to where the smoke and the smell will at least blow on your neighbors, not blow into your neighbor's property. That's good. If it's really a tight-knit community, that would be something that's important, but you better have control of the fire. Put rubbish and garbage out the right day. I'm extremely guilty of leaving my trash cans outside all day and the whole week because I could just leave them there. I don't have to go pull them back in. That's probably I'm not being very neighborly. And any of your neighbor stories, please share. I don't want any problems on my block. Well, you own the whole neighborhood, Valentine, so it sounds like you've got the block under control. Hey, Cheryl and Michael, what's going on? We're talking about how to be a good neighbor and communicating with your neighbor. And that is very important. I know, shame on me. I'm a bad neighbor for the trash cans. Communicating. I think that's important in any relationship, but especially with your neighbors, because then they know what's going on. It says be aware of your surroundings as well as theirs. That's just being neighborly. Like I said, if you see, the garage door's up or you think the front door's open. I've had that a couple times with my neighbors. I don't have their phone numbers, but I find a way to let them know, or I go shut the door myself because there's no reason that their door should be hanging open for 5 to 10 minutes. It's not, that's not kosher. Invite them to contribute in your garage sales. Have them over for tea or offer to babysit their kids or pets. Inviting them to, offering to babysit kids and pets, if you don't know them, I think that's a bit much. I would do that only for people that I'm friends with. I know their animals because that can be a bit much. And if you hear any news, events, crimes, special garbage pickups, give them a heads up. I think that's nice. It says by mail, or you can leave a flyer on their door. If you have a snow blower and they don't spend an extra 60 seconds, I think that's nice. My neighbor pulls out the trash and recycle cans when I get home, and I put, oh, that's nice. You guys are friends. That's nice. And just be nice to your neighbors. They are your friends, kind of. They're your peers. You definitely want to keep them happy with you. So if you ever need to do something, if you have a situation, you can rely on them. So it's just definitely a good thing to be nice to them, to show them a little human consideration. So hopefully that was helpful. I really appreciate you guys joining me every day for the home front. We are on episode 63. And again, I am going to be on the Shane DeGarry show tonight at 10 p.m. So be sure to watch it. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or anything that I can help you with, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys at 10. Hopefully. Hey, what's going on, Sonia?